Assassin's Creed is a series that we love to circle back to talk about on this channel. There's a few things that are always coming back up. Things like this, obviously James Bond, Metal Gear, Silent Hill. It's stuff that we're not talking about every week, but we make videos on it and enjoy it a lot. And something Nate and I were talking about recently was he was replaying Assassin's Creed 3 and noticed something that I think the games used to do a better job at in general a long time ago. And that is kind of being self-referential, or existing in the same world in a way that feels believable. I feel like these games, they used to really excel at this, and now it's more like they'll make small references to each other of whatever their modern era is that they're going for, but it doesn't feel like the past of the series matters as much. So that's kind of something we wanted to take a look at today and explain our thoughts on. If you enjoy the video, you want to leave, like, subscribe, we appreciate that very much. Also, I do have a question of the day for you, which is, it sounds a little silly, but you'll know what I mean. What is your favorite Assassin's Creed connection? Now, I don't mean like you and your best friend found out that you were both, like, you know, wanted to show each other your hidden blades and you made a connection like that. What I mean is, like, this game references this game, or this character did this, which went on to affect this.
Although if the first one applies, we'd like to know about that too.
Yeah, as long as you're both of age. Nate would love to read that story in the comments, apparently.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think that would be fun to hear. And also, we've been playing through Assassin's Creed games off and on for a long time over on our Let's Play channel. Link to that is in the description below. As of recording this, we've done 1, 2, Brotherhood, and I believe Brotherhood's DLC. And eventually we'll circle back and do Revelations on that channel too. So we have a lot of fun discussions over there. But Nate, what was it that you told me about when you were playing through AC3? Because I thought this connection was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I was telling you that the game, I think, does a good job referencing other games. One thing I actually noticed, and I forgot about this, and I found it very interesting. In the Animus database of Assassin's Creed 3, there's actually a lot of really cool references to other Assassin's Creed games. Like, for example, the coolest one I saw was Shao Jun, actually. So as part of the story of AC3, Achilles basically gives you the rope dart, which is a weapon that you use.
Really fun.
And he gives you this, yeah, it's awesome, but he gives you this dialogue where he basically says, yeah, the rope dart was made or given to us, you know, whatever he says, by Shao Jun. And I think for people who are just playing the game, like, for the first time, they've never played this series before, they might be like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. But obviously she's the main character in Assassin's Creed China. Yeah. So I think that's really awesome. But even on top of that, they actually have a whole Animus database entry for her with, like, a biography of Shao Jun. They actually had some early concept art, which actually looks kind of like her in general. Different, you know, in a way that, but it actually, you know, looks similar, which I thought was neat. And the ending of it, the ending of this bio, talks about how Shao Jun was the last person, or one of the last people, to see Ezio Auditore alive, which I thought was interesting that they included that. But another cool thing I thought with 3 was there's a lot of references to Edward in the game, and I had forgotten about this too.
I forgot how a good sea battle could get my blood flowing. Sail around, attacking ships. That's the life.
I know that feeling. It seems to run in my family.
Your father was a seafarer, then?
My grandfather, Edward. He sailed with a rough crew. Or so I am told.
For the king?
For himself. But that is a long tale for another day, Mr. Faulkner.
Edward, by the time 3 came out, I guess I don't know behind the scenes wise, you know, maybe there was some ideas or concepts about Assassin's Creed 4 at that time. I have no idea. But as far as we know, when Assassin's Creed 3 came out, obviously 4 was not made. So we as the audience had no idea who Edward was.
Right.
But I thought they did a really good job setting up and establishing Edward's life, or at least giving you a taste of it in 3, through database entries, through dialogue with maybe Haytham, you know, different things like that.
Dialogue with Faulkner, I remember I know it's an alternate reality vision, essentially, but during Tyranny of King Washington, which I think is pretty underrated, that's like a really fun little
really
side
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
Basically, so Connor is on his ship, and he's talking to William Faulkner, and he's talking about his father, essentially, and it's kind of almost feels like a throwaway line at the time, but it goes to establish that heritage of why Connor feels so comfortable at sea.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that his father kind of passed down to him in a way from his grandfather.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to forget that Edward is the grandfather of Connor. You know, because obviously he went on to have Hatham, who then went on to have Connor.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like there's that connection as much when you jump from 3 to 4. You know that there's that familial line, but there's not... I don't want to say it's like not connected, but 4 can very much function as a standalone. To a lot of people, that's the only Assassin's Creed game they ever played. That's just the one that they like because they love pirates. But I think it's cool how 4 appeals to people like that too, because you'll have 4, which has its own subset of fans, and then you'll have 4, which classic AC fans love, or even modern AC fans love, and you have these references to it before it was even made. And you have these references to things like Assassin's Creed Embers, Assassin's Creed Chronicles China. And to me, something you pointed out, which I think is true, is if you look at the modern era of like RPG or RPG-like games, so we're talking Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and I'm going to even include Mirage, because Mirage is less in that vein than the others, but it still uses some of the same mechanics and stuff. That kind of 4 games is constantly referencing each other. You know, it's a little bit more of the Layla series, like you pointed out. But I feel like back when you had Desmond, and even shortly after Desmond left, it wasn't as much about, we are the Desmond series, we're going to always reference Desmond. Yes, they would use him as a through line to connect these assassins and make references, but even outside of him in the world of the Animus, there were still these references to other things and other people and stuff. And I feel like they were doing it in sort of a 2 to 3 pronged way, where they had a modern day assassin tying it together. We made a video about the downfall of their modern story and how they ruined it if you're interested in what happened with it. They had the past, which was being tied together through the past itself. And then, of course, as well, they had this overarching narrative of all the games, no matter who the modern assassin was. You know, even those side games, like Assassin's Creed Bloodlines with Altair or things like that, they still all felt like they were part of that same series. And now, I would argue Assassin's Creed itself is one series, but it feels like it's split into sects. You know, now, not to be confused with sex, something that Nate and I have never had, but sects,
with other people.
Yeah, obviously with each other.
Yeah.
Show me your hidden blade. But it feels to me more like Assassin's Creed is a fragmented series now, where it's referencing parts of itself that it wants that game to be a part of. You know, like if you want your game to be a part of that RPG era, you're going to be referencing the RPG games. You're not going to be referencing other stuff. If you want your game to be part of this sect of it, you're going to be trying to harken back to those things. And I feel like in the past, what they did was they did such a good job of narratively tying the games together. It didn't feel like they were split into these subsections that referenced each other. It just felt like Assassin's Creed. And I don't really know how to describe it other than that. I know that this is a bit relative, because the best way to describe it is, it felt this way to me. But I really do think that there is some evidence there to show that they were doing a very good job of being referential while not just being Easter eggy. Like, hey, look, the thing. They were actually doing things that organically built the world, where you could understand, hey, these characters interact and cross paths one time, and that's not ridiculous.
Part of the reason why it does such a good job at that is they actually make the past games matter. You know, when you play Assassin's Creed 3, it actually makes a difference for you to have played 1, 2 Brotherhood Revelations before playing 3.
Yeah.
Because even in the main story, I mean, the game itself takes place like hundreds of years after Assassin's Creed Revelations, but Achilles even mentions Ezio.
Yes.
So it's like, these things matter. You know, yes, you can obviously just jump in at 3, but if you want to get the full story or the full picture, you actually need to play the games, I think, in order, actually. And that's not even just including the Desmond storyline. Like, Desmond himself in the real world has an actual full story that starts with 1 and it ends with 3.
And in some ways ends with 4.
Yeah, in some ways ends with 4, but him as like a character, his story kind of is through 3. Mm-hmm. And if you just jump in at 3, you're going to be kind of lost. At least with the Desmond part of it. You know, when you play 1 and 2, the storylines obviously are different. It's 2 wildly different eras. They're like 300 years apart from each other. Mm-hmm. But yet when you're playing 2 and Brotherhood and Revelations, you actually feel like 1 is valuable to the story of 2 Brotherhood and Revelations.
Yeah.
Especially Revelations.
And even
especially that game.
Even 2 with the flashback to, I believe, Altair meeting up with Maria. You know, that's something where if you didn't play 1, that meant nothing. What? Because I played 2 first as a kid.
Right.
And to me, I was kind of just like, I don't care about this.
Oh, I played 3 first. That was the first game I ever played through, yeah.
Well, yeah, there you go. It's like you can jump in at these places, but I feel like you miss those connections. Whereas now when I replay these games, I notice more and more things where it feels like the writers really did care about this exists in the same world. And nowadays, I know they keep it connected enough that they can argue it's the same canon and stuff. But it feels to me, honestly, ever since Unity, that those connections haven't mattered as much. They've just been more self-referential to whatever else is out or coming out at the time. So Unity, we're going to talk a little bit about things from Rogue.
Yeah.
Rogue, we're going to make references to Unity. Then the RPG era is just kind of talking about itself. And it doesn't feel to me as much like the past matters fully. I get the impression now that it's more about milking the past for money than it is honoring the past of the series and including it in the storyline because it matters to where that storyline has been and where it is going forward. And I think that a really, Revelations in 3, they did such a good job of showing that. With Revelations, you pointed out before in a video the stuff with Old Man Altair.
Yeah.
How it connects to Ezio. Or even in 3, the apple and how that connects back to the other assassins, Ezio, Xiao Jun, etc. I don't really get that as much now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think after 4, this is kind of when it went downhill. Mm-hmm. With Unity and Rogue, I think they do a good job referencing each other, like you said. But when I play Unity, I feel like the game is set in the Assassin's Creed universe, but it's not necessarily a major part of the Assassin's Creed story.
That's important to the past.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that to me is kind of a problem. I think Syndicate's the worst with this in general, but
it just kind of feels like its own thing.
Yeah.
Fun game,
It's fun. I like it. It's one of my favorite Assassin's Creed, but yeah, it really just feels like its own thing. And even with Assassin's Creed 3, here's a setting that takes place 300 years after the Ezio trilogy. It's in a completely separate part of the world, and yet they're still referencing Ezio as if he's important to that story. And you actually kind of feel like the Assassin's Creed, or the Assassin's Brotherhood in America at this time, cares about the life of Ezio still, and Altair. And to me, that is something I think Assassin's Creed is missing. I think Assassin's Creed went very much in the direction of, here's a cool Easter egg. For example, in Mirage, when you save this kid, there's this child, you teach him how to do this leap of faith, basically, and the kid's name is Hytham. Hytham grows up to be an assassin. He's in Valhalla. I thought that was awesome, personally, because I played Valhalla. Hytham was actually a really cool character, and then here he is, being referenced in Mirage, the game later. However, that's just a cool reference. That's a cool Easter egg in Mirage, and it literally just references the game before it.
It really just ties those two games together. Yeah. It's not really tying the series together.
Which, to be honest, that's kind of what Mirage is. Mirage is kind of just a reference to Valhalla. But I don't feel like the newer games do a good job connecting to the older games. I think they do a good job with little tiny Easter eggs here and there to the older games, but I don't feel like they're completely a part of the older games.
Right.
Whereas I think 1 through 4 did an excellent job. I feel like they're all just a part of the same thing.
To me, it kind of feels like everything since Unity launched has been almost a side story.
Yeah, it's
exactly. A side story that I mean, I don't consider it not canon.
Yeah.
I don't not care about it, but it doesn't feel to me like these are major entries in the past and the history. You not only had Desmond tying those things together, you had those characters themselves having this reverence for history that tied it together. I would argue a lot of the more modern characters, their game is more about what's happening right here and now in front of my face, and not about the Brotherhood, about shared history, about our shared goal. It's what is my goal? What am I doing? And those stories are still very interesting. I kind of get the idea that modern assassins that are being written now, they don't have that same exact reverence for the past. And I think part of it is because Ubisoft doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think Ubisoft has that same reverence for what got them to where they are. I think they just have a reverence for what's going to get us money in the next game. And that's where I think that the heart of what Assassin's Creed is, it's not gone, but I think it has shrunken. I think it has decreased in value because of that attitude.
Well, and I think another problem with that too is the RPG trilogy is literally in the past.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's not a Brotherhood to reference in those games anyways. But yeah, I mean, there's other ways you can reference this stuff.
Well, and even setting up things to show this is where the world is going.
Yeah, I actually think Valhalla does the best job at this of the three. I actually think it does. But it's still not the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's... Like, I still love the games, but it's just... To me, this specific aspect of the games has been missing, I think, since 4.
Yeah. I think that as you lost that vision of where you wanted to go, and as they started writing themselves into a corner with Juno and all this world-ending stuff, they've been really trying to get away from that. Like, how do we continue this series forever? Because history is infinite, which is true, but the problem is that you set up the series as a non-infinite story.
Yeah.
So then it's how do we transition this into an infinite story that's an anthology, but still make those games matter? And as there's more games, it becomes impossible to make them all matter.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the position Ubisoft has found itself in, is how do you make the past matter? You're not going to reference Ezio every game. That works when you don't have that many games. But when you have 50 games, now all of a sudden it's like, that's redundant. So the thing that you need to do to make it feel alive becomes redundant as well. And I feel like part of that is writing yourself into corners by trying to turn into an anthology that continues forever because it's the one thing your company's making money with. So it comes back to money, really.
Yeah.
That's what leads to this.
I think that's what a lot of these problems are, is just money.
Yeah.
Companies want money and they're not willing to give up on products that make them money. You know, so I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know what the solution would be. The solution to this issue is just stopping the games.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't know if I like that because I love the games.
Right, we still...
So, just... It's kind of a...
It's a catch-22.
It's a catch-22, yeah. It's a... Either way, you're kind of giving up something.
I do think if you did more stuff like what Mirage tried to do, where it was trying to celebrate different eras, you know, it was trying to do... This letter is referencing the origins of the Hidden Blade, you know, using 2 of them, or this character is in Valhalla and this is referencing this. It's not perfect, but I do think that if you could go more in that style, I think more people would feel like their time on past titles was appreciated by Ubisoft.
Yeah,
and at the very least, then it's, you know, you're feeling like, yeah, maybe this series isn't where I wanted it to be, but I don't feel like the past doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
So I don't know, that's kind of my thoughts on it. If you enjoyed this video, let us know what you think. We're playing through Assassin's Creed games over on our Let's Play channel. That is down in the description below. If you want to support this channel, we have Patreon channel memberships. There's exclusive videos on both of those things, as well as other channels. We have an RPG channel. We have an anime-focused channel. We also have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop. The code DJAY123 can be used for our Fortnite supporter creator code, and it can also be used on our store, CosmoBunny.shop. There it can be used for 10% off, only on CosmoBunny.shop, okay? Not on Fortnite. I don't have that kind of pull yet. Maybe someday. But you can use it for 10% off. Coasters, keychains, trays, and more. These are from recycled, repurposed paper, from books that have been damaged. We get from local stores, comics, manga, magazines, etc. We don't print images. Nate is opening up a drink right now. He's a real thirsty guy, so we gotta let him get to his lemonade. But Lots of fun stuff over there, transformative art we hope you appreciate. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.